Steele here. Welcome to our first episode of what I'm going to call Tool Talk, I guess. And I'm going to start out. We used to do this on a segment called This Week in the Lab. We're going to change that segment up a little bit and branch this one off into its own thing. As you can see, I've got kind of a cluttered table here. We've been pretty busy the last few weeks and haven't had a lot of time to clean up. But this episode, we're going to go over stuff I've scored just this weekend. It was a pretty good weekend at flea markets, antique malls, yard sales, and we've got a pretty good spread of tools here. I collect tools. I really like antique tools. It's been a passion of mine for a long time, and I want to bring that forth on the channel and talk a little more in depth about some stuff. This episode, I'm just going to try to get you used to the flow of it and just go over some stuff that we've got this week. Probably start doing that in the episodes, just cover stuff I picked up, during the week or the 2 weeks, however long between episodes, and then maybe highlight a tool or a type of tool or a brand that I can give you a little info on. But this week I'm going to bring you over here a little closer and kind of go through and show you some of the stuff that we have managed to score, or I've managed to score this week. So let's get right to it. Alright, so I'm just going to have you kind of looking over my shoulder here, and I'm going to go through some of these and just kind of show you what I got, some cool stuff here, and talk a little bit about it. I guess the first thing, this is an old Bailey number 27, Stanley Bailey number 27. It's a transitional plane, and these were built, I believe, 1869 to 1918. The number 27. This one is missing the iron, the cap iron, and the lever cap. But I got this super cheap, and we'll be able to find those parts if we don't have some of those parts. So I've got a pretty good stash of parts for these old planes. The number 27, interesting fact about it, had a 2 1/8 inch blade. I believe it was 2 1/8 inch, which is not repeated in the standard metal planes that you see after this. But this one's in pretty good shape. It does have some scoring, but the mouth has not been really damaged or opened up too much. So that was a cheap find that the guy threw in this old wooden plane, which is missing the tote, it's missing the iron, cap iron. But he threw this in because he didn't want to. He was leaving that weekend from the flea market, and he didn't want to take a lot of stuff home. I was interested in this. Got them both for the same price. We'll move along. Got a couple draw knives, and I usually make my own handles for draw knives, but these were really cheap and not very poorly made either. I can't really complain. These will serve me well. I think these were $2 a piece, and that's coming from a guy that I buy a lot of hammer handles from. That was a pretty good score. Brand new. Picked up a couple of old chisels, and like normal, you see this a lot. Wooden handle breaks out of these, and then some yahoo that doesn't really know what they're doing or doesn't care gets a hold of them and starts beating right on the tapered socket. Now this one's not too bad. You see it's starting to flare a little bit, and it's still got a chunk of wood in there. I'll be able to get that piece of wood out and reforge this back, and probably end up pretty easy fix. This one, on the other hand, is the more extreme end of that. Now I usually don't buy these unless I can find them almost for nothing, and that was the case with these two. But this one is going to be quite hard to bring back because it has been hammered all the way down to the end of the socket. But I think we can still save it. If not, we didn't pay much for it. Not going to be a big deal, but I have saved these that are to this extreme. This is a pretty cool old tool. This is a Porter Ferguson. It's a PT1. This is a body tool, and it's designed to get down in places you can't hammer behind and kind of pry up on panels and work out dents from down in pockets and such. Once again, flea markets and yard sales, I think they call them car boot sales over in Europe or in the US. So It's flea markets, it's yard sales, you know, estate sales, garage sales. It's a place to get some of these older tools that they're not making anymore, or if you're just looking for them for a good price. I think I paid $10 for this. They go for a good bit more than that on eBay, which has become kind of the standard of what people price things after anymore. Move right along. This little pair of pliers, I'm not real sure what these are for, so if anybody out there knows exactly, I have not found a company name on these. They look like they'll be useful to take off rounded clips and such. They have rounded recesses down in the already rounded jaws. So if anybody out there knows what these are, I've got 100 uses picked out for them already, but it would be cool to know exactly what these are. And I may find it in one of my old tool catalogs. I haven't actually had time to look through and see if there's anything similar. It's probably staring me in the face out of one of my old tool catalogs. But yeah, that's the mystery tool on the table there. So leave a comment if you know exactly what this tool is. Picked up 4 files. This one is K&F, made in the USA. It's sharp, clean, triangular file, and I've got a couple this size, but I like to keep backups. I actually like to keep one or two at the shop, 1 or 2 in the lab, so that would be a good extra. These files were like $1 a piece. So this one doesn't have a brand name or manufacturing country on it, but it's sharp. You know, it's a half round file, flat on one side, half round on the other. Sharp, clean, oily. You know, they've done a good job. This is another K&F, made in USA, square file. It's about a 1/2 inch across. It's another one we have a couple of these, but you know, for $1. This one I think I paid $2 or $3 for, and I've actually never seen a square file this big. This one is about 3/4 to 7/8 of an inch at its widest, and it's a little more damaged. It definitely has some damage up at the top. Some teeth have been, and it's pretty packed full. But we're going to try to sharpen this. I think it'll clean up, and we're going to sharpen it with the sandblast method. Sandblasting the teeth backwards. There's a segment in one of our videos. I'll look that video up and leave it in the description on which one has that, of how to sharpen a file using a sandblaster. But I had never seen a square file that big, and it was worth it. Even if I can't get this one sharpened up, it'll be a good little conversation piece to go on the wall. But I'm pretty sure, other than at the end where there's actually teeth damage, this feels like it'll sharpen up pretty good. Antique store, found this cool little copper hammer. It's solid copper. I paid like, I think $12 for this, but man, that thing is solid copper. This will be a good little hammer to use on stuff that I don't want to damage, and it'll be easy to kind of reform if I need to, or file off flat when this gets even. You can see it's been used a good bit. Handle's a little loose in it. It's been painted. I'm going to scrape all that off and do the method that I covered in a previous video, where I coat it with linseed oil for a while, let it soak in, and char that in. It does have, and I do not ever recommend this. I've seen this a lot, and it really doesn't help, folks. People will run screws down in instead of putting a proper wedge in. This one has a wooden wedge, albeit it's sitting in there at an angle instead of straight with the head. It should have a wooden wedge straight with the head and a metal wedge across it if you're going to metal wedge it. And someone's run a screw in that, and this doesn't really tighten up the hammer handle at all, really. It's kind of a myth that works, and it always ends up coming. It might tighten it up for a few days, but then it always comes loose again. So now we got to get that screw out and properly wedge this handle, if the handle ends up being the grain running the right way and worth the time. If not, we'll rehandle this particular hammer. But I didn't have a copper hammer. Got several brass hammers, but this one's going to be a lot softer, and it'll be very useful in the shop. Drill bit, I did not pay $10 for this. You know, these bigger drill bits, if I find them cheap, I always buy them, even if I got the size already. I think this one ended up being like $5. It's a USA made, 23/32. It's a high-speed steel bit, so no coatings or anything on it, but it'll, you know, properly kept. It's not a split point. You can probably see that, but properly kept, this will be a good bit for a long time, and we got a lot of sharpenings that we can do, and it's a good long bit. So that'll be a good tool for our shop also. Let's see, got two of these. I wanted to get rid of both of them. One was still had the box and the instructions are in there. This is a Rothenberger, made in Germany, and this one I believe a Rapco tool company, Dayton, Ohio. So both of them look to be almost identical. One was probably a copy of another at some point. I'm not sure which company came first. I don't think this Rothenberger has been ever used, and it's the one that the box actually goes with, so I assume this one's probably new. But they're both in good usable condition. Tubing, flaring tools. We do a lot of flaring of tubing at the shop, and it's got all the sizes. You pull this back and you dial in the size, and makes it real easy to, of course that's two different sizes there. It makes it real easy to lock your tube in there, pull this around, do your flare, pull it back up, you know, pop it out. You don't have to sit like the old style that I actually have and use with the two nuts on it. You have to get your tubing in there and fight with it. So these are going to be super nice to flare tubing. This one just needs a little cleanup here. You know, I think I paid $20 for both of those. That was a super deal. I was real happy with that. Got a few hand saws here. I've been collecting hand saws for a while. This is it's called a compass saw, and this one is it's a newer Diston, but it is a Diston. And you can tell it's new. I can actually see the Diston is on the blade here, and it's not an etch, it's actually printed. And you can see how sharp all the angles on this handle is. So that reeks of newer, you know, not very ergonomic. The blades on these newer Distons are still pretty good. You know, I have no reason to not use this. I will reform this handle. I'll round all this out and make it comfortable, make it fit my hand. I think part of the beauty in a hand saw is, you know, a lot of people keep these original stuff, but I feel like make it fit your hand. It's your tool. Part of the beauty is it was made to fit the working man that used it. It made it fit his hand, and he used it every day. So I'm going to do that to that one. But you know, that was a $2 saw, I think. These two I got for $2.50 a piece. This is a Diston. This is a number 7. And I really just bought this one. There's a piece for the handle, but it's actually taped there, knocked off of the bottom horn. I really just bought this one for the medallion and the bolts, because the blade on this one's pretty wavy. It's seen better days, and whoever sharpened this one in its lifetime did a horrendous job. So this plate here on this is kind of seen better days, but the medallion, a couple of the bolts here, hardware, not this one has actually been changed, but it's good. And the handle, you know, I'll use that handle. I have no reason not to use that handle on a saw. I'm not going to toss it just because it's seen its wear and tear. I think that adds to the beauty of a tool and the history. And with that medallion, this one would have been made 1896 to 1917, I believe. So this saw, as of to this date, it's at least 101 years old. At least. It could be even older. This saw has a very straight plate, and it has not been sharpened much. It's still got a very big plate on it. I think this is an 8, so it has 8 teeth in an inch. And it's in a rip pattern, and this is a warranted Superior. which most people kind of, I think, turn their nose up at. But I'll tell you guys, Warranted Superior back in the day, they were good saws. They weren't the top end saw. They might have had a blemish or something, but this is going to beat any saw you buy at the hardware store now. And another little fact, these Warranted Superior badges, this could very well have been, and we haven't cleaned it up to see if there's an etch on the blade, but this could be a Diston. This could be an Atkins. You know, this could be a Simmons. Diston, in fact, if you lost the medallion and you needed to order one, they would not sell you a Diston medallion. The replacement medallions all said Warranted Superior. And that was because they didn't want you buying Diston medallions and putting them on other saws and selling them. They cared about their name. So, you know, you very well, finding these Warranted Superiors, very well could have your hands on a Diston or a Simmons or an Atkins, and it just had that replaced. But even if it was a Warranted Superior, you know, Diston, all those companies, their second line saws had the Warranted Superior on them anyway. So you're still got your hands on a good saw if you find this Warranted Superior, if it's an older saw. So, little tidbit of information there for you. This is a nice thing, and it's covered in oil, but that's a good thing. This is a 18-inch Proto adjustable wrench, and it's rusty. That's going to clean up nice. And the guy had been oiling it. It was froze when he got it, and he'd been oiling it and working with it, and he's got it moving now. We'll probably take it on apart and clean all this rust on it. It'll have some patina to it, but you know, I'm okay with that. Paid $15 for that. I cannot get a Chinese made from Harbor Freight for that price, this size. And this is a Proto. So I'm very happy with that. Let's see. This is a stand for a cobbler's last set. And that was $1 or $2. And I've got a few cobbler's last forms that go on here already. And I just thought, you know, why not $1 or $2? And speaking of cobbler's lasts, I found this one, and he had 20 bucks on it. And in my area, these don't sell very well, so he came way down on that. And this is a bigger one. You could do actual boots on this. It's got two different size, or it's got two different sizes. There are multiple sizes of these and shapes, but it's got two different sizes for the toe, and then it's got a heel anvil on there, which, you know, most likely I do repair my own shoes if I can, but most likely this will get used for some metal forming. You know, it's some cobbler's lasts are really good for metal forming. It's odd shapes you don't really find if you're building armor or just doing, you know, repairs or off the wall stuff. We do a lot of metal forming to fix stuff, and you know, different shapes come in handy. Odd shaped pieces of metal, I always save them. And the last couple of things we got, which was my find of the week, was these two things. And these are marking gauges. Now this one's missing a few pieces, but I ended up, the guy threw this one in when I made the deal on this one. So he originally had $4 on this, which, now this is an old one. It's probably a Stanley, but it is missing the fence, and it's missing the adjuster, this part of the adjuster that helps move this in. But this is a double pin, so you can do mortise and tenons with this one. And I'll make a fence for it. This is a nice rosewood. I believe this to be rosewood. I'm not perfect with identifying woods, but I believe that to be a rosewood. So that was, you know, that's cool, but this is the really cool thing. And I believe this to be a Stanley number 92. It is not marked. Normally they would be marked Stanley, but I have read about some unmarked ones. And this is an interesting one because it has an auxiliary fence, and you could do, and it has measurements on it to get an approximation for both the fence and for the auxiliary fence and the main fence. They move independently. The fence moves, and then you have an adjustment on this auxiliary. So you can make two different marks. You can do hinge butts with this, almost anything you need to do. And this one's in really good shape. And I haven't researched these a whole lot. I'm not sure what dates these were made, but I know this one's probably knocking on 100 years old's door at least. And it's in super good shape. It is, however, missing, I believe, in here. It should have, instead of this screw bearing right on this brass, it should have another piece of metal in here, just a thin piece, and we will make that for it. That is not a big deal. I paid $5 for this, and it is worth every penny of that. I would buy these all day for $5. I don't think I've seen one of these on eBay cheaper than $40 for a number 92. So that was, to me, the score of the week right there. And I will leave you this episode of Tool Time. Leave us some comments, or Tool Talk rather. Leave us some comments. We'd like some links to your videos on old tools if you're a collector, or just tell us about some other guys that are into this on YouTube. We'd like to hear from those guys, or support their channels too. And please support our channel if you enjoyed this. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and tell us what you think. Until next time, that's Tool Talk.